Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be giving you a ranking of my preference for all of the characters within Merchant's Cove, both the base game and the expansion characters. I've been doing a series of videos where I talk a little bit about each of the characters within the game, giving a brief overview, giving them a level of complexity within the characters, talking a little bit about the main mechanisms for each of them. And then all of that was going to be leading up to this video where I give you my preference for all of the characters. There are 7 characters within the base game and expansions, and I'm going to go from 7 to 1, talk to you a little bit about why I prefer one over the other. That being said, I like all of the characters within the game. I'm just going to get that out there right off the bat. None of the characters in the game are ones that I would ever refuse to play or even feel bad if I played them. It's one of the reasons why I do like the game. I've given this a relatively high ranking, and it's a game that I keep coming back to over and over again. So I'm happy to play any of these characters, but you got to have your favorites, and so here we go. Coming in at number 7, my least favorite of all of these characters, although again still a character I enjoy playing, is the Blacksmith. And I think the reason why the Blacksmith is ranked lowest for me of the characters is that it is very straightforward. There's not as many maybe hooks to this as some of the other characters. I do like dice placement, and so I still, as I said, enjoy playing this game. But I feel like there's a much more straightforward path to doing well with the Blacksmith than there are with some of the other characters. You know, you have a little bit more flexibility because high numbers can be good and low numbers can be good depending on which types of goods you're trying to produce. And so I feel like, again, it's relatively straightforward, not too tricky to figure out how best to utilize your dice, get those goods. Pretty forgiving of a character. There's not a lot of times where you feel like you're completely out of luck. And so that's why it's the lowest on my ranking, because it's the most straightforward of the characters. That is the Blacksmith. All right, coming in next at number 6 is the Captain. The Captain is an interesting character because it's a very lucky feeling character. And I said that in the overview of that character. There's luck in this game. There's no two ways about it. You're pulling customers out of a bag blindly. A lot of the different characters have elements of luck to them, whether it's dice or flipping over tokens. And in this case, with the Captain, it just feels more lucky. In other words, it's more in your face about it, I suppose. It kind of works with this spinner. That's one of the main actions you can take that helps you move your boats around the board. And I enjoy that. I like flicking the spinner. There's no two ways about it. I get a nostalgic feeling from using that particular component. And the character is fun. I do like the kind of fishing element where you can get your boats in different areas and potentially get a whole bunch of goods during one action. I always like characters that allow you to get multiple goods with one action. But it is a little bit less satisfying for me in a couple of reasons. Maybe one of the biggest ones is that I never really felt like those cursed coins were terribly punishing. When you hear something like that, you think, more corruption, that's going to be bad, but you can oftentimes just turn those cursed coins into gold. Maybe that's the point, is to, you're using this and trying to make something good out of something bad. I also didn't love how the market sponsorship worked with this character as much as some of the other ones. Still a perfectly fine character, and again, one that I'd be happy to play, but it's coming in at my number 6. That is the Captain. All right, at number 5 is the Innkeeper. This is a very unique feeling character. This is another one that plays very differently from the others. Now again, this is an asymmetric game, so by its nature, every character is going to play different from the other. That's one of the main hooks to the game. But the Innkeeper, of all of them, plays the most differently, I believe. It has its own phase. It has an accommodations phase that comes after the market. And it's a character that I feel like can feel a bit more punishing than the other ones. If you don't get all your ducks lined up in a row, if you don't get the beds in the right bedrooms that correspond to the piers where you've got the majority of a particular color, you're going to lose out. And so there are ways to manipulate that and mitigate that, but it feels a little bit tougher to pull off. This is definitely a character where I feel like there's a bit more feast or famine, where you can score tremendously highly with the Innkeeper. I've played games where the Innkeeper just wrecked shop, but I've also played in games where the Innkeeper didn't do very well. So there's a little bit more high highs and low lows there, and so that's why it's ranked a little bit lower, although it is a very unique feeling character. That is number 5, the Innkeeper. All right, coming in at number 4 is the Chronomancer. This is the only character where you've actually got 2 characters that you're controlling, and that's unique. I like that. I like kind of the puzzle that represents. This one feels very much like a puzzly character, so if you like puzzle type games and puzzle type mechanisms, this one might be right up your alley, where you've got limited movement, you've got you're going in a clockwise manner, almost rondelle style, although I don't think it's technically a rondelle. Well, maybe it is. You're going around this circular type of board, taking actions on them, and you've got some restrictions on how you can move. So it is, I guess, a bit of a rondelle movement. You're also trying to manipulate those time portals in such a way that you're getting the most efficient actions. If you can work it in such a way that you've got the tiles flipped to the lower time sides and using those frozen time tokens, you can potentially take a bunch of actions without spending much time at all. But that is a little bit of a challenge to get that right. So I like this character. I like kind of that puzzle, but it's kind of right there in the middle. I'm happy to play it. It's usually not my first choice, but it's not down there towards the bottom either. That is number 4, the Chronomancer. All right, at number 3, we've got the Alchemist. This is a character where I've just got to say, I just like the marbles. I really like that very silly little kind of Candy Crush potion explosion type of a thing where you are trying to get the most ingredients by picking those rows in such a way. Now, again, this is luck. There's a lot of luck involved. I said the captain is very lucky. The Alchemist is tremendously lucky because you're blindly pulling those ingredients out of the bag. Now again, there are different actions you can take to mitigate and move different ingredients, things along those lines. Using those ichor ingredients and extracts to the best of your ability can also help you out quite a bit to help you have some kind of wild ingredients out there, and that's helpful. But to me, this is all about just the fun that I have, the toy factor, the enjoyment of that little marble decanter. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's a fun character. I like the theme of brewing potions. So that's why the Alchemist is my number 3 character. All right. Number 2 is the Dragon Rancher. The Dragon Rancher is a character that I really enjoy because I like the main mechanism that drives it, which is basically this Mancala placement of the food. You're trying to place the correct color food to grow and move, to hatch, move, and grow the dragons. I really just think that's a fun mechanism. I really also like the bit of bag build. It's not really bag building, but you are trying to kind of manage what is in the bag. You're trying to get the right colors and get the white food in the bag because that's a wild. And so I really kind of like those main mechanisms. I like again, this has a little bit of a puzzle element. This has on a much smaller scale, something you'll find in a game. I mentioned this during the character overview. You might find in games like Istanbul or even Five Tribes. And so if that appeals to you, this character might. And those are games that I very much enjoy, and that's why the Dragon Rancher is my number 2 character for Merchant's Cove. All right, that comes down to my favorite Merchant's Cove character, and that is the Oracle. This is the one that I have ranked as the most complex of the characters, but that's not necessarily why I like it. I really like this twist on roll and write. Now, roll and writes are really a dime a dozen right now. I mean, the market is saturated with this mechanism, but I feel like this, in the context of this game, where it is one part of trying to manage what's happening out there on the board with the characters and the ships and how you get those, the amount of thinking that's involved with getting that to work with the Oracle is very satisfying to me. If It's one where, again, there's pretty high highs and pretty low lows, at least for me. When I can pull it off, when I can utilize those runes in such a way that I can trigger bonuses, that makes me feel really good. So it has a little bit of some of the things that you find in other roll and write games where you are triggering bonuses, where you can do something here that's going to allow me to trigger something there, which is going to allow me to do something here. I really like that. And I like this feeling of discrete little kind of mini games where up here you've got kind of where you're trying to get your goods by filling in 1x1 or 2x1 boxes. And down here, you're trying to put ascending or descending rows of numbers and being able to use X's to kind of reset that. I really like that. And how you can kind of manipulate the market, the sponsorship. It's a little bit trickier with the Oracle, but again, if you can pull it off, it feels very satisfying. So that's why the Oracle is my favorite character in Merchant's Cove. Well, there you have it. My ranking of all of the characters within Merchant's Cove, with one exception that is a bit of a spoiler, so I don't want to talk about that. And if you want to watch the Secret Stash overview, that'll talk about it there. But for all of the characters that I mentioned, this is my ranking in order of preference. All right, well, that's it for me. This is Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.